Welcome everybody to this edition of Tackle Box Talks. I'm Daniel Kittleson from Washington County Parks, along with the host Mark Davis, here on this beautiful May spring day. Come join us in the boat. We're going to be talking about spring features with trout fishing, fishing in general here at Hagg Lake, Scoggins Valley Park. So come and take a stroll with us. Anything else to say, Mark?
ODFW has been putting in some really nice trout, so let's see what we can stir up out here. It's been freshly planted, and they'll do it a couple of more times before we get well into summer and the water gets too warm. Let me show you what we're doing here. What these fish like this time of year in the early spring is meat. And one of the best kinds of meat to put on a lure, which is what I'm doing here, is garden hackle, as we call it. It's a night crawler. Well, a night crawler for these fish is just a little bit too much because they're about 6 inches long. So I cut them in half. And then here's the cherry on top of the sundae. These are Berkeley power bait crappie nibbles, and what I do is I dry them, because if you use them just like they are, they're too soft. And when you dry them, I take them and put them on a piece of aluminum foil out in the sun where no birds are going to get them, because they will get them. They think that's pretty good stuff. Look at that big old juicy half a night crawler hanging off of there. And then what I do is I take one of the hardened up crappie nibbles and put it on the hook carefully. And I've got 2 hooks on there. Sometimes, like on this one, I've got 3, because that's, I think, the maximum number you're allowed. So that's what it looks like out of the water. Let me put it over the side and show you what it looks like in the water. It looks like it's swimming, and then ahead of it is a flasher called a dodger, and what it does, it imparts an action to the whole thing. So let's just put it out. What I'll do is I'll put this thing out. I've got a line counter reel. You can see that you have a pretty good idea what it is that you're putting out in the way of line, but you want it back behind the boat at least 100 feet, and I'll probably put these out about 125. When we get this all set up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach it to this downrigger. If you look out here, there's a weight, and the weight takes it down, and it's heavy enough that it will hang pretty much vertically. With the weight, what it does is it keeps us at exactly the correct depth that we want. This is the bad thing about trolling. It takes forever to get the lines out behind the boat, and I'm going to show you another rig that makes that happen a whole lot quicker. Now I've got this out 150 feet. We're going to be trolling really shallow, and the noise from the motor does tend to disturb the fish. With a downrigger, it's got a device on it like a safety pin. You give that a squeeze, and you put the line clear to the back of the pin. And now this one has a line counter on it as well, right here. So I have to loosen this up to make sure it doesn't pull out of that safety pin device. And I'm going to drop this down 10 feet, right there. And that's what it looks like. You take the line and put a good bend in it on the rod, and what that does is when the fish grabs it, he's got to work hard to get that thing out of the safety pin, and he manages to hook himself most of the time. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a rod holder out there. These are a Folby rod holder. They're kind of my favorites because of the way they work. I'll show you how it works. You can put that in here and you snap it in. You do that, it's a clamshell. And then I'm putting the pressure on it right there on the rod. And when you get a fish, what it will look like is like this, and then boom, he'll pull it loose. So with these Folby rod holders, either people love them or they hate them. But when you get the fish on, you can't lift it on the front end, you can't lift it on the back end, you have to lift the whole thing all at once. That whole thing comes out all at once, and at the same time you're lifting the rod out of the rod holder, you're setting the hook, which is a good thing. All right, here's something a little different. Instead of using the flasher, this is called a jet diver, and this is a number 20. What it does, it's a planer board, and as you're towing it through the water, it's on this orientation right here. As it's going through the water, it digs in and it sinks. Here's a little air bladder right up here, and what that does is that keeps this end up. And then we have kind of the same thing. That's a wiggle hoochie. It has that really nice seductive action that they like. And with the wiggle hoochie, this thing, the diver goes through the water and has kind of a wiggle action to it like a fish swimming, but it doesn't have the big flash. And then, you know, that's what you want, the crappie nibbles and a worm on there. You want meat. See how the diver has just a little bit of a wiggle to it. It looks like a fish swimming. And then that nice wiggle hoochie behind it, it wiggles. With that bait on there, this time of year, they're interested in something to eat, and we've got plenty of meat out there. Again, I'm using a line counter reel, and I'm going to put this out about 50 feet. The jet diver does not sink. It's up on top, so when you're putting it out, you can see exactly how far out it is. And what's been working this morning is about 55 feet, and that's what we're coming up on now is 50 feet. So there's no clamp on there. That's just a straight line. And again, go on the tip of the rod there, and what it looks like when we're getting a hit is like this. But he doesn't have to pull it out of a downrigger clamp. All right. We'll do a third rod, and this is just exactly like the first one I showed you. I make these flashers up. They've got glow-in-the-dark on them, and you know, there's nothing out there swimming that looks like that, but they kind of want to come by and say, what is that? There's something over there that looks like it might be edible. And then they come in and get the whiff of the night crawler and the crappie nibbles, and they say, that's meat. That smells good. Let's go get one. Oh, boy.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, that's a fish. Oh. Hey, got him. Is he there? Is he there? Something's on there. Yep, that's fish. Now, if you can reel this up, I'll be able to bring that fish right up where you can get a real good view of it.
How slow?
There we go. It's not down. That's not down very far. So
reel it all the way up.
Reel up that downrigger. You'll see it. Yeah, bring the ball right up to the downrigger. Oh, ooh, that's a nicer one. That's a much nicer one. Now, who's gonna net it? You're gonna make me net it all by myself. It's nice to have. Ooh, that is a really nice fish. He's going to get caught in the other line. Oh, that's a really nice trout. Very beautiful trout. Okay, where's my net guy here? Oh! He's coming back. He's coming back. There we go. Another lucky winner. Those are nice size rainbow trout. They come out of that Roaring River hatchery, and they do a really, really, really good job at that hatchery, as you've seen on one of the previous videos. All right, when you're putting the lines out These two lines are going to be fairly shallow. This one on the diver is pretty deep. But what you have to do is you have to orient the boat so that these two lines, when I'm putting this one out, this one doesn't go underneath either one of those. So I watch those. All right, this one's going to go out about 150 feet. But you got to keep them parallel, otherwise they make a real snarl. You got to keep a good eye out for any other boats coming around. So this one's going to go out about 150 feet. And then what I'll do is I'll put it on this downrigger, and we'll set it out. It's sunny enough that the fish really, if you think about it, they don't have eyelids, so they can't squint. So when they're looking up and their visual orientation is primarily upward, they got little cheeks and they really can't see down in front of them very well. So what I need to do with these lines is when I'm putting them out, keep them parallel, and then this one will also go on the downrigger. When you have all those lines out that can get crossed up and you're doing a turn, you can't do a fast one because this one's out 150 and this one over here is a 125 and this one is out 50 feet on the diver. Well, the diver's deep enough close to the boat where you're probably not going to get all three lines hooked up. And I've got about 10 feet with the rods spaced out on the perimeter rods, so they're pretty good as long as you don't do a sharp turn. And you just have to be very, very careful of that to do it slowly, gently, and easily. Now, the videographer here asked, why do we have two motors? This one is a 9.9 horse, and that one's 115. That one's designed for picking up, running, going fast, and uses a whole lot more gas than this little one. But the whole idea with the smaller outboard is I can make the boat go very slowly, and it has a lot more directional control. Look at that cloud back there. That looks suspiciously like it could have a funnel coming out of it at any time. That is a really nice fish. That's just about like that one that we just caught a few minutes ago. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the downrigger down a little bit deeper so that we can run that right by his nose. One of the nice things that's, for me anyway, I like to be doing something all the time. And I really don't like to bottom fish very much because you're just waiting for a fish to come by you. If you think about it, when you're trolling, you're covering a whole lot more lake, bringing the bait to them. And with the downrigger and with the fish finder, I can see just exactly what level those fish are traveling at. And with the downrigger, I can raise or lower the weight to make sure it just goes right by them. We don't want to have them have to go too far. We like to bring it to them. We deliver. Here's another one right here. There's two more right there. That's a fish, and that's a fish. Now this one came up clear from the bottom. That's his track, and he took a look at it, and then he kind of went back down. But those fish look like they're at about 17, 18 feet. And this one's running at 11, so I'm going to drop it down a little more. The top number is the depth. You know, everything's right there next to it, so you can tell what it is. But that tells me how deep it is underneath the back of the boat. The next number is the surface water temperature. It doesn't tell you how deep it is, how warm it is down deep. If you look at the third item on there, it's SOG. That means speed over ground. It's GPS oriented, so it's not giving you anything in the way of information about if you're in a river, you have the water moving under you, but the GPS orientation gives you the speed over the bottom. The third one on there is the voltage that's being delivered by the trolling motor, and then the bottom one is the same as the one above there. That's the speed over ground. Over here, this is the shows the bottom is at about 75 feet, and that agrees with here. This tells you 25 and 50 feet, so if you look on there and you see one between the 25 and 50, you know you probably want to set your downrigger weight to about 35 feet. How about some boat tips? these are things that are just common sense, but sometimes they tend to elude people. Up here is our flotation cushion. Do you have it right there? Flotation cushions don't do you much good if they're in the seat and the boat sinks. So it's nice to have it where you can throw it to somebody. It's nice to have the net right there where you can get a hold of it. And since I fish a lot on my own, I like to have the net right there where I can grab it. If we're not wearing the life jackets, have them out, at least where you can get a hold of them. Those are all right there. This is something I like to wear all the time, even though it's starting to get warm. It's a float coat. It's got a built-in life jacket. If you had to zip this thing up while you're wearing it, it's not going to work too well, but it's just like a life jacket. It has the snap-on buckle. It's half-inch thick closed-cell foam, and then it also, if you go in the water, it keeps the water away from as much of your body as possible to prevent hypothermia. Great piece of equipment. They're about $150. If you want to look for a Father's Day or Mother's Day present, this is a good one. This is a lifesaver. One of the nicest things that I had them put on this boat when they built it for me was a hot water sink. The hot water comes out of the electric trolling motor. You can shut it off if you want, but it just continually puts 106 degree water going into that sink, which is very nice on a cold day to get rid of the night crawler and to get rid of the herring smell, or to get rid of your peanut butter after you had a sandwich before you start handling bait again. Another really good piece of equipment is this thing right here. What this is designed for when you're going down the road, this goes on the hydraulic cylinder on the outboard motor to keep the motor from, when you're going over bumps and railroad tracks, keeps the motor from slamming down. So you just tilt it up, put that on there, turn it 90 degrees, and then set it down, and it's fully supported. Takes a big load off the transom and a big load off the motor. That's a bite. Is he there? Is he there? Want to reel this one in?
Sure.
All right. Nobody ahead of us, right?
Nope.
Oh, good.
Good. All right. Just lift them up. There we go. Woo. Nice fish. Nice fish. Beautiful fish. Look at that. Oh, pretty fish. Now, look how well this one is hooked with those multiple hooks. Boy, he's not going to get loose. Getting a pretty good batch of them in there. They're doing pretty good. It's nice to have that jug of water that's frozen in with them to keep them nice and cool. And this is what the sink is for. That's just nasty. Get him, get him. There we got him. One of the things that's really good to do is get this downrigger cable out of the way while you're bringing in the fish. Because remember, this one's back 150 feet, so we got lots of time to do that. This is another nice one too. Nice fish. Whoa, way back there. Way back there jumping there. This one's big enough he can go wherever he wants. And he's trying really hard to get hung up. Oh, he's got the other rod over here. I'm going to go over to this side. I think he's got both of them. I can't do too much with him. There, I think he got loose. Nice fish. No, he tangled them all up. He got them all tangled up. Oh, there's one of the joys of trolling right there. And when they're wiggling in the net, they're tying it in all sorts of knots. That's just why you have to keep them apart if you can. But yeah, that's a nice fish. Pretty. Look how bright that is. Big old 13-inch rainbow. Look at the mess that fish made. I mean, that's going to give me something to do to get that undone. But one of the things that I always do is on the flashers, they always have a snap or a snap swivel on it so you can take it apart without having to cut the line. Because, boy, that fish kind of tangled everything up, and you got to get this thing undone before you're going to be able to go back fishing again. But with the snaps, I can take everything apart without having to cut the line. All right, that's what was stuck in that fish's face just a minute ago, and this is all the line that he wasted. One of the things you don't want to do is take this line and just throw it overboard, because it just doesn't need to go into the lake. But one of the things you really don't want to do is take this line and just throw it in the bottom of the boat, because you have a bilge pump that will save your life, literally. And if this gets in the bilge pump, it just goes, and that's it. It just makes a noise and doesn't pump. So when you get this, take it, just wad it up into a little wad like that. You can put it in your pocket, and then when you're taking the boat out, there's repositories around the lake, especially at the boat launch areas. Just take that line and throw it in there. Let's put this back out. Put some bait on it and go see if we can find another one. Feel like a fairly nice one? Yeah. Did when I got a hold of it. Get this out of the way. Slow down here. Tell me when you're getting close.
About 25 feet.
Yep. Feed there. Pull a little line off so that you're not going to lift him out of the net. There you go. Just like that.
Whoa.
Big fish. Look at that.
Nice. Wow.
Big fish. That's a nice fish. Got a couple of limits of really nice Hagg Lake rainbow trout. And they do all come from the Roaring River hatchery, is that right? That's right. Yep. So they do a really good job. These are the ones that were most recently planted, and that's the size when they first put them in. This one right here has been in for a while, and these two are what they call trophies, which are 15 to 17 inches. So it goes planters, trophies, and then they put in the brood stock. In a previous video at the hatchery, you saw some of those things, are 6 to 10 pounds. So They don't raise a lot of them to that size, but they put quite a few in that are really fun to catch. And about half of those that I catch have another hook in them. In other words, they broke off of somebody else's line, and that's a trip that they'll remember for a lifetime. This is our second video in the boat. And as you can see, the fishing out here in late spring in May, we're right at the middle of May, is very good. I think on our last trip we caught a couple and had to scratch for those just a little bit. But these are wonderful fish, and the fishing will continue to be good here at the lake until well into June. Once the water starts to get a little bit warmer, then the trout go down deeper and they're a little harder to catch, especially from shore. But we'll swing into the warm water fish because, as the biologist told us, we have smallmouth bass. In fact, the state record smallmouth bass came from Hagg Lake. Got crappie, perch. I know they have bullhead catfish, and anything else you can think of that we got in here? Bluegill, one of my very favorites. Bluegill are so good to eat, as well as the crappie. You get nice crappie out of here that have a fillet as big as your palm. Those are really, really good to eat. But we're done for today. Had beautiful weather, just enough wind to make it comfortable. The fish were very cooperative. It's time to sign off on this one for our Tackle Box Talks. Look forward to the next one. Maybe we'll see if we can do a warm water one.
That's a wrap, everyone. Thanks for joining us out here today at Hagg Lake alongside Mark Davis and his beautiful boat. Be looking out for June 5th and 6th, which is a free fishing weekend. It's also going to be the weekend of our fishing tournament. So be looking out on Facebook. We'll have flyers posted about the categories, about what you could be winning. So June 5th and 6th, be looking out for that. And I'm going to hand it over to Mark.
As you saw, we got a lot of fish out here today, a couple of really, really nice big ones, but looking around, the rain's moving in, the wind's coming up, and we're getting out of here just in time. So until next time.
Thank you so much.